Tucker Carlson just sat down with the New York Times in Maine, breaking publicly with Trump over the Iran war. He made 7 big claims worth checking. Here's what's true, what's misleading, and what's flat out wrong.
Oh, okay. But, I mean, they invaded Lebanon in 1982. Okay, so that was 44 years ago. They've had a lot of experience in Lebanon, a lot. They've had a lot of time to fix Lebanon. They killed Nasrallah. They blew up Hezbollah with explosive pagers. Like, they've done a lot since October 7th in Lebanon. They chose that moment to derail the negotiations, and they've done this repeatedly. And so my perspective as an American is, look, we're the United States. We're a country of 350 million people. You are wholly dependent on us. You're a country of 9 million people with no natural resources. I'm not against you, but like, we're not co-equals here.
True. All 3 are accurate. Israel's full-scale invasion of Lebanon, Operation Peace for Galilee, began June 6, 1982, 44 years ago. Hezbollah leader Hassan Nasrallah was killed by an Israeli airstrike on Beirut on September 27, 2024. 33 dead total. The Operation Grim Beeper Pager attack on September 17-18, 2024, detonated thousands of devices, killing 12 and wounding more than 3,000.
With the White House Chief of Staff, the Secretary of State, et cetera, had lunch with him on one of those occasions, and then I spoke to him by phone many times on this topic, and he would begin almost every conversation with, do you want Iran to have a nuclear weapon? To which I said, well, I'm sort of opposed to nuclear weapons. I don't want nuclear weapons. I don't want Israel to have a nuclear weapon. I don't want anyone to have a nuclear weapon. It doesn't seem like a good thing. But that's not the question. The question is, what do you do about it? And that was kind of the end of the rationale for doing this. He never seemed enthusiastic about it, ever. And I would say, well, here are the potential effects of this. Obviously, the geography of Iran being the most important fact of Iran. Iran is not a military power, it's an economic power. That was obvious because it controls the greatest span of coastline along the Persian Gulf, which is the source of 1/5 of the world's energy, et cetera, all well known now.
False. Iran has roughly 610,000 active military personnel and one of the world's largest ballistic missile arsenals, over 3,000 missiles, including the 2,000-kilometer Khorramshahr 4 and the hypersonic Fat. Iran ranks #11 in global military power. The Persian Gulf does matter for energy, but it's the Strait of Hormuz that carries about 25–34% of the world's seaborne oil, and Iran shares that choke point. It doesn't control it.
That influence.
I mean, that's kind of the question that I would like answered. And I don't know the answer, as noted. But, one argument could be, well, Trump is just uniquely weak. Okay. But that was not my perception. I think Trump obviously has weaknesses. And a lot of his posturing is compensatory, of course. I'm not interested in psychoanalyzing Trump, but that's just clear. But what was it about this moment that allowed a foreign leader to have this level of influence over an American leader? And I don't know the answer, but again, I think it's worth finding out. I would also note that, and this is not a defense of Trump, hardly, this is the single most foolish.
True. On January 3rd, 2020, a U.S. drone strike at Baghdad International Airport, ordered by President Trump, killed Quds Force Commander Major General Qasem Soleimani, the architect of Iran's regional proxy network. The strike marked the most significant escalation between the U.S. and Iran in decades.
I'll tell you what I mean. I truly believe that the baseline requirement, the ticket of admission to the conversation, is admitting when you are wrong. And I spent 10 years defending Trump on Fox News. I'd probably do it again because on the issues, I agree with him. I never defended a single thing I didn't believe. But at this point, the consequences of this decision are so bad for the United States and for my family and your family that, like, you just have to say it out loud. Like, I'm a small reason. I don't think I moved a lot of votes, but I tried to. I told people, this guy will keep us out of the next Iraq. Specifically, will keep us out of a regime change war with Iran.
Misleading. Stretches the timeline. Tucker Carlson joined Fox News as a contributor in 2009. His primetime show Tucker Carlson Tonight launched in November 2016. He was fired April 24, 2023. So Tucker had a Fox platform during Trump's political career for about 6.5 years, 2016, 2023, not 10. He'd spent 14 years total at Fox. But most of that predates Trump's presidential run.
And part of it is, of course, about what happened after Venezuela and the successful, in their view, operation there, removing Maduro from office, and that he felt sort of emboldened by that, the success of that operation, and that he felt that this was going to be similar, that he underestimated the Iranians and what they might do in response to an attack.
Yeah, I don't believe that. I think the Venezuela operation allowed him to retreat into a kind of fantasy in which he told himself this is going to be easy. But I don't think he believed that. And I should say, having spoken to him a lot in this calendar year, I detected no evidence at all of dementia, mental decline. You hear people say, well, he's
true. Confirmed. On March 17, 2026, Joe Kent, director of the National Counterterrorism Center, NDTC, resigned. In his resignation letter, he wrote, "Iran posed no imminent threat to our nation, and it is clear that we started this war due to pressure from Israel and its powerful American lobby." He had served less than 8 months. A former Army Ranger with 11 combat deployments.
Do we know that? I don't know what I know, because there hasn't been a trial yet. And again, it's like so many things, and it's not just Israel, it's not just Charlie Kirk, it's the existence of NATO or the way the economy is structured. Why is capital taxed at half the rate of labor? Like, that's a question that bothers me. In every case, shut up, socialist, racist, conspiracy theorist. It's like, I'm just too old for that. Why don't you answer the question? That's my job.
Do you think Turning Point's influence has waned since Charlie's death?
I haven't the faintest idea. I do think that, I agree with most Americans when I say I think this war is a disaster. It's impossible to see how it helps the United States.
Partially true. Roughly true at the top. Long-term capital gains are taxed at 0%, 15%, or 20%. Plus 3.8% net investment income tax for high earners, so 23.8% top marginal income tax, 37% Tajwachi, so 23.88, 37, 64%, not halved. For median earners, 22% bracket, 15% capital gains is about 68% of labor, closer to 2/3. The directional point that wages are taxed harder than capital is real, but half overstates the gap.
Discussed.
I mean, I'm guessing to a certain extent. I do talk to a lot of people there still, but I don't work there, so
No,
I don't.
sure.
It's hard to really know. There are people with a long record of making bellicose noises about Iran. They still work there, so. Specifically, the Secretary of State / National Security Advisor has, said for many, many years Iran is the greatest threat we face, which is a ludicrous statement. But has
Talking
said
about Marco Rubio.
that'd be correct. But that said, I didn't hear a single time from anyone, including from the Secretary of State himself, who I spoke to about this, any enthusiasm for doing this.
True. Confirmed. Marco Rubio, currently both U.S. Secretary of State and acting National Security Advisor under Trump's second term, has been one of the Senate's most consistent Iran hawks since 2011. He has repeatedly called Iran the greatest threat to U.S. interests in the Middle East and a top global threat in floor speeches, op-eds, and Foreign Relations Committee hearings. So how did Tucker do? Of his 7 claims, 3 held up as true. 2 were partially true. 1 was misleading, and 1 was flat-out false. The pattern. When Tucker cites named historical events, Lebanon 1982, Soleimani, Joe Kent. He's accurate. When he stretches timelines or downplays Iran's military, he overshoots. Don't take pundits at their word. Check the data.